Hey there, Bruce, and welcome back to Game of Fortune. We just met the contestants in the last episode, so let's carry on from there, shall we? It seemed that Belle was still looking over us, waiting for questions. But everyone was silent aside from Lilith, who was still comforting her sister, and with that confirmation, Belle nodded and began to float up. Well then, let's not waste any more time. Let this round of the Game of Fortune commence. She snapped her fingers once more and a blinding light filled the room. I felt my head ache for a moment as the flash left me disoriented, but when I readjusted, the room was the same as it was before. The only difference now was that Belle was gone and that the first door had opened up. Alright, now we've got things started. Who's going where? Huh? What, you're not paying attention? We got to split up into 4 groups of 4, 4 people for each room. Right. So I was asking where people wanted to go. Any room preference or anything like that? Maria and I will be going into the last door. What? Are you going to say that without asking me first? Well, do you have any better ideas? I mean, if you want to go through the last door, then fine. We can go through the last door. If that's the case, I'd like to accompany them. Teresa, would you care to join me? That's fine by me. I'd like to get to know a little more about the competition, to be honest. They're the 2 burliest, scariest dudes here, so that makes sense. Awesome, I'd like to get to know you two as well. Especially you, dude. What's your regime? You must work out a ton to get muscles like that. Well, it's nothing special, really. They started to chat idly as if there wasn't a care in the world, like they weren't going to be playing for their lives. Alright, so we've got room 4 taken care of. And that leaves 3 more. As I listened to Zeph trying to organise the groups, I felt Devon tug on my arm. Hey, Clyde. Her voice shook me out of my stupor. What's up? I think we should stick together, as a pair. Well, obviously. I don't know if anyone else is going to split up or anything, She held onto my arm tightly as she looked over at the others. I understood, but because frankly, I felt the same way. I was terrified, and the idea of having to play games to survive sent a chill through my entire body. The only comfort I had right now was knowing that Devon was here with me, and that she'd probably have my back if we got into any serious trouble. And in terms of serious trouble, this is about as bad as it could get. And yet, in the back of my mind, other thoughts floated around, pulling for my attention as the seconds passed. What if we got into a game together and we had to kill one another? What if other people tried to kill us? Are we going to have to protect one another? And most importantly of all, if there was only going to be one victor, were we doomed to be enemies from the start? Hey dude, don't just zone out like that. It's a little freaky seeing you go wide-eyed like a fish. Sorry, I just got lost in thought. Before we get started, why don't you take notice of the little clover icon to the right? I've added a little profile tracker so you can learn about each of the players. Oh, and this is just for you, not for Clyde or Devon or anyone else to know. It keeps track of some basic information. The profiles are also accessible in the options setting. And after reaching an ending, why not check again and see if there are any special notes added? Anyway, good luck, and good fortune through this deadly game. The flowchart has been unlocked. You can access it from the options menu, or from the main menu. Honestly, I think, oh my god, our first actual choice. Safe. Stick together, obviously. We should stay together so we can watch over each other. The tension that locked Devon's face washed away as she heard those words, and she let out a heavy sigh. Yeah, I agree. As long as we got each other, things are going to be just fine. And that's what I hoped, even if I knew that I was just delaying the inevitable. Yo, lovebirds, you two done whispering to one another, and you want to join the conversation? We're not dating. Tweet, tweet. Don't encourage him. Like I said, feel free to join in on the conversation at any time. So, anyone got any room preferences or pairings or anything like that? Laura and I are going in the 3rd room together. Lilith was still holding Laura in her arms, but she wasn't crying or murmuring anymore, but she still seemed shocked by the whole snake incident. I'm not surprised. I'm not going to debate anyone on it either. We need time. Alright, so Laura and Lilith will go in the 3rd room. If that's the case, William and I will enter the 3rd room with them. Seriously, I don't want to have to deal with that loudmouth. Well, if that's the case, you're free to go and be with whoever you want to. I'm not your mother, you're free to do whatever you want. I didn't say I wouldn't go along with you. But could you have picked any other people to group with? Of course, but I have my reasons. Whatever. Hey Zeph, Me and Clyde don't want to be in a group with Jade. You wound me with your words. Are you saying you wouldn't like to participate in a death game with moi? Absolutely not. Ditto, dude. Oh, the woes of rejection. I'd still like to pair up with Jade if that's alright. Do whatever you want, just know it means you're not going with Clyde or me either. That's fine. I don't want to split from Kishi either, so that means Philip and Richard, you two are going to be with one another as a pair too. That's completely fine with me. Seconded. All that's left is to decide what doors we'll be going through. Kishi, what are you feeling? Door number 1 or door number 2? Door 1. Any reason why you wanted that door? It's the one that's open right now, which means that if I survive the game there, I'll be the first to finish the first round. Is that important? I don't think so, but I do like being first. You can say that I'm a bit competitive. I'd like the second door, having to do the first door with all that pressure on me to perform well. That's scary. You don't have any need to worry. It's not like people will know how you did until after they finish their own games. Well, if I die, it'll be super obvious when people move on to the next round. At least if I'm second, it won't be like the first death people talk about. That's a terribly pessimistic way to go about this. Do you really think you're going to die no matter what? Wow, you got your choices then. You can go with me and Kishi or Richard and Philip. Devon, you don't care between these, do you? Nah, I think they're both pretty cool. Alright, in that case, oh, another choice. Richard and Philip. Let's go with Philip and Richard. Flattered. Thanks. Is it really something to be thankful over? Well, it certainly shows that we're at least approachable, doesn't it? I guess. They're my kind of weirdos. Frankly, they're not exactly the most intimidating pair out there. Well, I guess that means Jade and Grant are going to be paired up with us. Yeah, good luck with that. What's wrong with us? You're not exactly people we'd be happy to hang around with. The heck does that mean? Let it go, Jade. Let it go. They insulted us. And it's not a big deal. Don't let people walk all over you, Grant. You gotta plant your foot down from time to time. This doesn't really seem like something worth arguing over. You really can't stand up for yourself at all, can you? Well, deal with it. Either way, we ought to get going. Regardless of company, we're gonna have to play these games one way or another. Yeah. Well, on the bright side, this just means that we'll get through these games faster. Yeah, the sooner we can get this done, the better. Yeah, we'll be seeing you all later. Don't just write us off. You don't know for sure that you're going to win. I have a feeling. You hear this, Grant? We can't just let them insult us like this. We'll manage, I think. Why couldn't I have a more confident partner? The four of them, because you've got enough confidence for both of you, dude. The four of them walked through the first open door, their bickering going silent as it closed behind them. At least we wouldn't have to deal with them. They look like they're going to have fun. Fun, yeah, they're going to have fun tearing each other apart. Well, not necessarily, they might agonize over it. After all, the game they end up playing might involve odd teams. Imagine if Kishi and Jade teamed up against Grant and Zeph. Or maybe it'll be 3 against 1. In that case, you'll always have some volatile destruction of teams. Perhaps Zeph might be forced to fight against his lover. You're not really giving us much hope about our own situation, you know. I don't mean to say that it'll happen for sure, but it could happen. Best be ready for that scenario. Unless all 4 of them die in the first game, there's a chance that you might be forced to kill your own partner as well. That's... Hey, don't get spooked. I'm sure that everything will work out. Maybe Philip is right and those 4 will die in the first game. We shouldn't be putting our hopes on that. Okay, fine. How about at least 2 of them? I'm sure we can afford to lose Grant and Jade. After all, if Zeph dies, where am I going to get my discount facial cleansers from? Some other influencer? But he's my favourite. We'll have to find a new one then. Boo. Is Zeph that popular? You don't know? If you couldn't tell, I don't really follow what's popular, really. Richard, you need to keep up with the times. Even I know who Zeph is. Really? What, you think just because I'm old I don't know about celebrities and the like? I'm quite tech-savvy, you know. I know what's going on in the world around me. You need to stop being on the internet so much. It's not good for your health. Seconded. But if I don't stay up to date, my students will make fun of me. They'll do that regardless of how up to date you are with pop culture. Well, either way, you don't need to worry about me. I'm the picture of health for someone my age. You know, aside from my leg, I'm doing perfectly fine. Richard passed a sympathetic look to his father and placed a hand on his shoulder. Whatever you say, Dad. Don't act as though I'm on death's bed. Do you have some kind of health issue? No, like I said, I've been in good health. All I did was injure my leg when I was travelling some time back. And you got sick. And I got better. It wasn't even a life-threatening issue. I wish you didn't travel around so much. It's not good for your health. Phooey. Travelling does the body good. Not when it gets you sick. Good lord, I've been travelling around the world since I was a teenager. Suddenly I'm in my golden years and it's a problem? I'm fine. You don't need to... Philip suddenly began to cough into his hand violently before he moved to cover his mouth with his arm. You have terrible timing. It's nothing. It's just a... He was interrupted by another violent coughing fit. I'm fine. It really isn't anything serious. Just a small cough, that's all. It sounded more than just a small cough. Are you sure that you're okay? Honestly, it's not a big deal. Probably just a bit of dust or something that got caught on my chest. I haven't been sick in months. Then maybe it's just a reaction to stress. The doctors did say that you might have flares of pain if you got too stressed. Well, maybe. But I think that I'm stronger than that. If my chest is really going to start acting up because of stress, then I'm not going to be doing all that well. It was probably just a one-off cough. Like I said, just some dust or something. We should be safe, though. Make sure it really is just some irritant. You really do worry too much. But I'd rather you care for me too much than too little. Maybe we can ask someone to take our place while you rest a while. I don't think we need to go that far, do we? I just want to be safe. Fine, go ahead and ask around. If it'll set your mind at ease, and I won't protest. Are you two okay with that? Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't want you to have a heart attack during our game. I don't have any heart issues. Well, the point is, we don't want you to underperform because you're not feeling good. Oh, I would have expected you to be more excited at the idea. It might be better might better your own odds of survival after all. Technically that's true, but it just doesn't feel right. Anyway, let's go and ask the others to see if some people are willing to shift around. If he's actually going to die, then who cares if he's coughing, right? If there's a chance he's going to die in the game, that's the least of his problems. As long as we're together, I'm sure that we can handle anything. Yeah. I reached my hand out to grab Devon's, and she quickly wrapped her fingers around it. Whatever happens, we'll handle it together. That's the spirit. Show these people that we mean business. I'll be cheering you on the whole way. You better do more than just cheering. Of course, of course. Philip and Richard quickly gathered the others back into the lounge. After they explained the situation, the discussion moved on to who would be willing to swap around. You poor thing. You really should rest if you're not feeling that well. I just said it's not that serious. I'm just doing this so that Richard doesn't end up making himself sick with worry. How noble of him. Still, that puts us in a weird position. We need 2 people to join Devon and Clyde, right? Sorry if this causes any trouble. Lilith, we could join them and that ought to fix everything, right? Yeah, but I don't want to change doors. Worse odds of survival. Are you sure? We don't need to change our own strategy because of their own issues. That's cold-hearted, don't you think? If a cold heart keeps us alive, then I'm willing to be an ice-cold bitch to ensure it. There's no need to say such things. We could just move to onto another pair. Elizabeth, William, would either of you be willing to swap? Good grief. I don't think I'd want to play a game with you, Philip. Why not? You're annoying. That's just not true. I've been told I have an amazing sense of charm. That's exactly what I'm talking about. If we got into a group, we'd get into a fight almost immediately. But what if I joined their group? Then you only need one of them. Like Richard. I could work with that. Are you sure you want to do this though, William? I'm a nice guy. If Philip needs some time to rest, then I'll be glad to make some space for him. Except that you're making space for me, not my dad. You need to ask someone from the last group to give up someone. All of our heads turned to Maria, Alphonse, Everett and Teresa, who had been silent up until now. Oh, I'm not really feeling up to splitting with Everett. I feel safe whenever he's around. I'm quite content with my position as well. See, we're madly in love with one another. We never want to be split. Please ignore my partner's random ramblings. Well, I guess that means it's on us then. I don't mind splitting from Al. I prefer to stick with him to start, but if it helps Philip get better, then that's totally fine. Plus, Clyde and Devon seem like fun people to hang around. We wouldn't be hanging out, we'd be playing some weird death game. Same thing. They are not the same thing. Actually, I think it'd be best if I joined up with them, Maria. Really? That's a surprise. I didn't think you'd be so keen on hanging out with the youth. Don't make me sound like some uncool old fart. Can you blame me for joking around? Seems just a little odd, that's all. Well, you'd be safer going through the last door. So I might as well take the risk of playing in the second game. Oh, gotcha. Hey, you're saying you think I'd lose? That's not what I said. It's what you implied. I don't think that you'd lose. I trust you completely. But I also want to keep you safe. Even with these two, I know you'd be safer than if you had to play earlier. Hey, I find that insulting. I'd say that Maria is in more danger with me regardless of the door chosen. The sad thing is that you're probably right, but I'm going to trust my instincts on this one. Fine, but if you lose, I'm going to kick your ass later. How would you even do that if I were dead? I'd find a way, don't test me. So then I'm going to be going through the last door then. That seems to be the case. How is he going to be resting? He still has to play a game, right? What difference does it make? The new group should be Clyde, Devon, William and Alphonse going through the second door. That seemed like a totally unnecessary mix-up, just for the sake of mixing shit up. Lilith, Laura, Elizabeth and me going through the third door. Teresa, Everett, Maria and Dad going through the last one. That sound about right? Yeah, and I don't have any objections. Same here. I'm sure that we can handle William and Alphonse. Hey, don't write me off so soon. You haven't even seen my skills in action yet. You're right, I'm sure that you'll surprise me a ton. I'm more worried about Alphonse. He's kind of intimidating. Alphonse, he's not that scary. He's just big, that's all. Really? Want to say that to his face then? That'd be rude. I'm sure that it would be. I nearly stumbled back in surprise when Alphonse walked up to us. I figured that he was still talking with the others, but he was quick to approach us. So we're going to be playing together. Yeah. Just want to say this in advance. No matter what happens, it's nothing personal. Oh. That's it? Yeah, that's it. What do you think I was going to say? I don't know, I figured that you were going to threaten us or something. Why would I do something like that? Well, you are kind of big and intimidating. It would be hard to spook us. Wouldn't be hard to spook us by saying some scary shit. What would I get out of that? I'm not trying to scare people. Not that it would matter, because I don't scare easily. That's good, being able to handle fear is important here. I'm a master of my own fear. Wish I had that kind of courage. You seem like the brave type, Alphonse. Well, I like to think that I'm decently courageous, but there are some things that still chill me to the bone. Really? Like what? Ghosts. Ghosts? Yeah, ghosts. Whites. Spirits. They all scare the hell out of me. I didn't expect that. Ghosts are serious business. I don't blame you for being freaked out by them. Being driven by vengeance or a horrific attachment to the world? They're one of the most dangerous supernatural beings in the world. Oh, do you investigate them too? Well, I don't investigate them, but I know about them. Sometimes I get a chill up my spine whenever I'm near them. Usually around graveyards, haunted houses, stuff like that. It's a horrible feeling, like someone's breathing on the back of my neck. Yeah, I try to steer clear from places like that. Most of my investigations tend to be around more tame spots. More vengeful spirits can cause some real damage. This is the last conversation that I expect these two to be having. It's kind of cute watching them geek out over ghosts, isn't it? In a weird sort of way, I guess. Oh, it looks like the door to the second game opened up. Guess it's showtime. You seem a bit too eager to get into the game. Not really, but I know it's kind of pointless to run from it. As long as we're together, we can get through anything. So I'm feeling confident. Fair enough. You two ready to go? Huh? The second door just opened up. Oh, I see. Well, guess we'll have to put this conversation on hold for now, William. No problem. We can chat about it later. After all, I'm certain that I'm going to win the next game. Well, at least he's got confidence. William, remember what I said about pride, okay? Yeah, it comes before the fall or something like that. Temper yourself. Play smart. You don't have to prove anything to anyone here. I know, but if I just happen to show my amazing skills, well, that just means I'm really on another level. Okay, don't worry, I'll be careful. Good. Make sure that you don't kick their asses too hard, Alphonse. Why would I want to kick their asses at all? Well, you want to win, don't you? Yeah, but I might not have to do that. Where's your fighting spirit? Probably dormant until I actually start fighting. Well, just don't lose, okay? I don't plan to. Kind of neat seeing everyone get pumped up. It makes sense. They don't want to lose their partners after all. If we're to split up, I'm sure that we'd do the same thing. And we could totally psych one another up, even if we're together. I say that we should do it. Well, let's save it for later. No point in acting like it's the last time we're going to see one another. True. But I guess we should get going. No point in fussing around here, right? Yeah, let's win whatever Belle has in store for us. That's the spirit. Devon gave me a slight jab in the chest before we walked through the open door. Huh, is this supposed to be where we play our game? Looks more like a waiting room to me. Then is Belle going to tell us what game we're going to be playing here? I don't see her anywhere. She's a god, she can probably just appear whenever she wants to. In any place that she wants to. Sure, but she should appear sooner or later, right? Miss me already? The television buzzed to life with Belle's face filling the screen. Glad to know you all care so much about me. You really do miss me a ton, don't you? I wouldn't say that. It's just that we can't continue without you. Oh, you can't go on without me? That's touching, Clyde. I didn't know you felt that way about me. I don't. Hey, I didn't know that electronics worked here. I was told that they'd all be on the fritz. If I'd known that, I would have brought my phone with me instead of writing these notes. I make exceptions depending on what I want, of course. We wouldn't want any technical interference during our games now, would we? Are you saying that technology messes with our games? I wouldn't say that. It's like to keep my games predictable. Limiting technology helps to make sure the games run smoothly. Speaking of, let's do a rundown on how the games will be selected. As I said before, there are 4 game types. 2 versus 2, 1 versus 3, 4-player dilemma, and all versus 1. All 4 All for one, sorry. Depending on the kind of game that's selected, I may split you up into teams, after which you'll enter in the game room and I'll explain the rules. Simple, isn't it? Sounds simple enough? Good, then let's get right into it. Let's bring out the roulette. The screen shifted and changed among a set of options. I guess they are meant to represent the game types. Since this is the second game, there could be deaths ranging from 0 to 4 in the last game. Not sure exactly if this is exactly a lucky estate or not, but I guess we'll know when the roulette stops. As time passed, the shifting images slowed their rotation until finally... All for one? Looks like you'll be playing 4-player dilemma, okay. Who knows how many people will die, how many will survive? In a game like this, it's all up in the air. That's good for us, isn't it? Means we might not have to kill one another. Yeah, that's what it sounds like. Don't count your chickens before they hatch. We don't know what kind of game that Belle has in store for us. Could be something deadly. That's true. Don't get so glum right off the bat. I haven't even told you what game we're going to be playing yet. Well, what game are we playing? Let me think. What would be a good game to begin with? How about we play Selfish and Selfless? What? Never heard of a game called that before. It's certainly an odd one. That's what makes my games so impressive. They're unique and unheard of. Sometimes I like to probe ideas out from you all. Probe ideas? Memories, experiences, fears, things like that make for a great game material. Well, let's not get lost in the details of where I get my ideas from. When you're all ready, enter into the game room, please. Then we can get started. See you soon. The screen shut off and we all looked at one another awkwardly. It can't be that bad, can it? I mean, even if it's some made-up game, she's giving us a chance to play together. No teams mean there's a chance that we can work together. Let's hope that's the case. Well, it doesn't matter to me. Regardless of what kind of game, I'm going to win it, no problem. You need to enter the game room first to do that. Well, what are we waiting for then? Let's go. He's certainly eager, isn't he? He's not wrong. Guess we might as well just go. Whatever game Belle has in store, we can't run from it. Exactly. So let's jump right into it. We followed right behind William as he walked out of the waiting room. It seemed that maybe we'd be off to a good start, but until we knew what we'd be playing, it was hard to tell. This place doesn't have the same vibe as the other rooms that we've been in. Devon, you alright? You look kind of spooked. Oh, I don't know. Kind of got a hot flash all of a sudden. A hot flash? Yeah, I don't know. It sort of came over me when I looked around. My whole body just kind of got hot, especially when I look at those pods. I'm sure it's nothing. Maybe just a little stress. Well, don't push yourself. Of course, I'm counting on you to push me forward, Clyde. I'm not going that far. Kind of a weird place. Feels sciencey. Like a lab. Or maybe some kind of bunker. Does that mean that someone lives in a bunker or an underground facility? Belle did say that she probes our thoughts for ideas on games. There's no need to take my words so literally there, William. Belle walked in from the opposite door, waggling her finger in disapproval. Who's to say that this game is even based on any ideas or memories of another player? Maybe I just like a fun underground looking facility. You're a fan of sci-fi? Science is very interesting. Chemistry, biology, physics, mathematics. Lots of fun stuff to tinker with. But let's move on from that. You're not here to learn about science, you're here to learn a game. Are you ready to learn how to play Selfish and Selfless? Sure. Alright, then listen up. Selfish and Selfless is a trivia game of trust and confidence. The gameplay is relatively simple. I'll present you with a topic for a question that needs to be answered. Then you four must decide who is going to answer the question. Once you've decided who will answer the question, they will enter into a separate room. There they'll receive a question, which they must answer. If they get the question correct, then nothing happens. They will enter back into this room with the rest of you, and the process will repeat itself 3 more times. So we'll be doing this for 4 rounds. Okay. And what happens if you get the question wrong? That's where the fun happens, Clyde. See, before they even answer the question, they can choose to be selfish or selfless. If they choose to be selfish, if they get the question wrong, someone in the other room will die. Wait, if they get it wrong, the rest of us can die? That doesn't seem very fair. Well, maybe it's not fair, but that's the risk of letting someone like that be your answerer. On the flip side, if they choose to be selfless, then they get the question wrong, and then the answerer will die. So that's where the name of the game comes from. Yep, very straightforward and simple. After the 4 rounds are done, whoever is alive gets to move on. Simple, isn't it? I guess it is. But how are we supposed to decide who gets to answer the question that you're going to give? I don't know. That's up to you. Maybe fight it out or whoever gets to the door first. But I'm not going to tell you how to decide who gets to do the job. So you're just going to make us bicker over it? Well, if you end up bickering, that's not my fault, is it? What happens if in the rare case there are 3 people dead at the start of the round? Can the remaining answer just be selfish and kill no one? I wouldn't expect something like that to happen, honestly. But if it did happen, then sure, they could agree to be selfish in that moment. It wouldn't do anything. There's no one on the other side to kill, but it would assure your safety. That's what I was worried about. If it keeps the last player safe, then what's to keep anyone from just mindlessly killing others to get what they want? Any other questions? No? Good. Well, you know how the game is played, so let me first present you with the topic for the first question. The subject is dualism. What? What the heck is dualism? In philosophy, dualism is the theory that physical and mental are, in some sense, radically different kinds of things. So that the mind and body are different things, basically. Now that you know the subject, just hop into the room ahead whenever you have someone in mind to answer. Belle grinned and walked out of the room and left us to our devices. Well, does anyone here know anything about dualism to give a decent answer? Don't look at me, I never studied anything about philosophy or dualism or whatever. Now, ask me about making the perfect pancakes and I can answer that in a second. No, you couldn't, there's not enough time. Want to test me? Sure, explain how you can make them perfect. I just would. That's not an explanation. That's an answer that I gave in a second. That's not fair. Knock it off with the comedy act, you'd say. I'm not trying to be funny here. Well, I was. Okay, Devon. We know you don't know anything about it. William, what about you? You're a student. Are you studying philosophy by chance? It did sound like you'd be interested in that kind of mystical thinking. Well, I'm sure that I'll learn it eventually, but I don't really know enough about it to be sure. Great, so we've got a question that none of us are certain of answering. That can't be fair. Belle has to give us a question that we have a chance at answering at least. Maybe it's multiple choice. If it's free answer, then yeah, we might be in a bit of trouble. Well, if it comes down to it, we should let either Clyde or Devon answer the question then. Why? Simple. You're less likely to answer wrong on purpose and get us killed. After all, you'd probably not want to end up killing Devon, would you? I'd hope not. You wouldn't have to worry. I wouldn't put your life at risk if I could help it. And that's the thing, you can help it. Since you'd be answering the question, all you'd have to do is pick selfless and you'd assure Devon's survival. At least for this round. And what about after that? What happens after I'm gone? Alphonse shrugged. We'd have to hope that somehow we got some questions we know how to answer. I don't really like being used as a bargaining chip here. It's for your own good as well. What do you think would happen if William or I were forced to answer the question? Do you think we'd put our own lives at risk? Not really. Frankly, it doesn't really matter for either of you. If you had the chance to answer the question, you'd both just pick to be selfish. Even if you knew what the answer was, you'd have no point in picking the option to be selfless. Hey, don't make me out to be completely cold-hearted. If I was confident in an answer, then I'd choose to be selfless. You say that now, but how am I supposed to be certain of it? Well, if you're that worried, all you have to do is be the person answering the question. I just wouldn't get the question wrong. Then it wouldn't matter what I picked. Yeah, we're definitely never letting you answer anything. Somehow your cockiness and stupidity might just be a good shield for you. Whatever, I'll just go ahead and answer the question. Are you sure, Clyde? I could go up there and answer it too. That's fine, I'll handle it. The last thing I'm going to do is put you at risk. This is all my fault anyway. Alright, if you want to be the shining knight, go right ahead. Just remember that it'd be a better story if you come back alive, okay? I believe in you, so don't stress too much on it. Thanks, I'll do my best. Still doesn't help that I don't know much about dualism though. I approached the door and quickly opened it up. I gave a parting glance to the others behind me and walked into the room. The door shut behind me and the screen in the room blared to life. Well, if it isn't Clyde, I figured you'd be the first up to bat. You figured that, huh? Of course, you got the most to lose here after all. And I'm sure you wouldn't want to leave your life or Devon's up in the hands of others. So, are you ready? As ready as I'll ever be. First up, are you going to be selfish or selfless? Do you even have to ask? Of course I'm going to pick selfless. I expected as much, but I have to make sure. After all, in the heat of such a decision, you could have changed your mind. Never. I'd never put Devon's life at risk. Is that what you believe? What are you laughing about? Nothing serious, but let's move on from that to the main question. Here it comes, the question that will determine if I live or die. Your question is, what 17th century French philosopher was responsible for the advancement of Cartesian dualism? What kind of question is that? You expect me to know the philosophers of the 17th century France? Indeed I do. Now, here are your answers. Auguste Comte, René Descartes, Simone de Beauvoir, Jean-Paul Sartre. So it's multiple choice. That's right, but only one of them is the correct answer. And you just expect me to know the right answer? Well, even if you don't know for sure, there's a 1 in 4 chance you'll get it right. So don't worry about them too much. Those are terrible odds. When you're ready, just tap the screen on what you believe the right answer is. If you're right, then nothing will happen, and you can return to the other room. But if you're wrong, well, prepare for death. Toodles. I don't know the answer to that. Belle vanished off the screen. Her visage was replaced with the 4 options that would decide my fate. Fuck, is it really just up to chance? I felt panic starting to well up in my chest. It was easy to act tough when there wasn't any immediate danger or threat, but now that I was here, all I could think about was how I was supposed to answer this correctly. Was there maybe some kind of hint or clue in the names? I scanned them over once again. Yes, okay, the names. They all sounded French, but if it's the 17th century, maybe some are more historically French than others. Is that a thing? Is that a thing? I wouldn't even know though. Wait, Descartes, isn't that Richard and Philip's last name? Is that just a coincidence or some kind of hint? Hard to say. Maybe it's just a common French last name. Still, when it comes down to it, I might just have to make a guess and hope for the best. Ugh. I raised my fingers toward the screen and selected, I guess we'll just go with Descartes then. I mean, if we die, we'll probably get an achievement anyway. I wasn't really sure if this was the right answer, but it was as good as any other guess. I hope I'm not putting Descartes before the horse. I reached my finger out to the screen and... Ding ding ding, that's the correct answer. Phew. Don't celebrate too soon now, Clyde. There's still a few more rounds to go. I know. It doesn't mean that I can't enjoy this small victory for now. When you're ready, walk back to the other room, please, and I'll tell you what the next topic will be. Got it. I moved back to the original room. Hey, good going, champ. Didn't know that you studied up on French philosophers. You knew what the question was? Yeah, after you entered in that other room, Belle told us what question you got, plus whether you were being selfish or selfless. She told you all that? Yeah. Guess she wants to keep us in the loop on what our intentions are. If someone lies or tricks us, we can adjust accordingly. Well, I guess that's fair. Yeah. I'm more happy that I didn't make a fool of myself for being wrong. You'd be dead anyway. Don't worry, you wouldn't really make yourself much of a fool. You'd be more of a corpse. That's not much better. In fact, it's much worse. But you were neither of those things. You're still alive and not much of a fool. That still implies I'm somewhat foolish. Well, you can't win them all. That's right, you can't win them all. Belle's voice echoed throughout the room. But you know what you can win? Your chance of survival if you get this next question right. Okay, we're going to wrap this one up because we're out of time for this episode. I hope they just keep giving us hints like that because I'm not going to be able to answer any of these questions. And then I'm going to get myself killed and look foolish. Like I always do. Who cares? Anyway, thanks for watching, Chris. I'll see you in the next one.